Hey, it's Carrie here from the Female Entrepreneur Association. So recently, like a lot of other people, I have been spending a lot of time reflecting on the past 12 months because we have reached the end of another year. And I think this is such a powerful thing to do because you can learn so much from going back over the past 12 months and figuring out what was going on. And so for me, the way I do this is I sit down and I work my way through a series of questions. And some of the core questions I ask myself are, what amazing things did I achieve this year? And how did I make it happen? Why did I achieve those things? Because that right there is my success strategy that I want to keep following. And then I also think about what were the biggest discoveries I had this year? Like, what were the biggest lessons I learned? What were the biggest things I learned that really helped me to grow and expand? And then I also think about what things did I really want to achieve this year but I didn't manage to achieve them, and why didn't I manage to achieve them? What mistakes did I make and why did I make them? Because that strategy right there is one I never ever want to have to follow ever again, because it just clearly doesn't work for me. So I think when you reflect, you uncover these amazing gems that you can carry forward into next year so that you can make that year even more amazing. And so this year I was sat down and I was thinking about what my biggest discovery has been. And I realised that my biggest discovery this year has been pretty huge for me, because my discovery has changed the way I've been building my business entirely. And so I want to share it with you because it has helped me so much. It's given me a completely different perspective on how I build my business. So hopefully it'll help you too. And this thing is something that applies to absolutely all of us in business. No matter what you do, no matter what you sell, whether it's a service or a product, this applies, and I think it's huge. And it is this. The biggest thing I have discovered this year is that when you're building a business, it's not just so much about what you're selling, it's about the experience that you are creating for people. You've got to build an experience, create an experience, not just a business. And for me, this has just changed everything, because before I was setting business goals for myself, which I think are really important, but the business goals I was setting for myself were things like, how many new fans do I want on Facebook? How many new email subscribers do I want? How much traffic do I want to get to my website? How many sales do I want to make? And how much money do I want to make? All this stuff. And I think all those things are so important, and I think we all should have clear targets and goals when it comes to all of those things, because they really help when you're building and marketing your business. However, I was never ever asking myself, what do I want people to experience when they come to my website, when they go on my fan page, when they receive an email from me, when they buy a product from me? I wasn't thinking about that at all. And I came across a quote which is an amazing quote, which says, people won't remember what you said to them, people will remember how you made them feel. And I started to realise that is so true, because then I was looking at all the brands that I absolutely love, brands that I just think are incredible, like beauty products and I don't know, all sorts of different products. And I started to look at what they were doing, and I realised that it wasn't so much about what they sold that made me love them, because there are loads of products I buy over and over again and I wouldn't rave about them, and there are not a product that I would turn around and say be like, I absolutely love them. So I was thinking about the brands that I do feel that way about, that I do love, and I was like, why do I love these companies? And I started to realise that it wasn't what they were selling, it was how they were making me feel. It was how they made me feel. It was how they made me feel when I went on their fan page. It was how they made me feel when I went on their website. And I started to think, oh my goodness, I need to start thinking more about this stuff. How do I want people to feel when they come on my website? What do I want them to experience? What do I want people to experience when they receive an email from me, when they go on the fan page? And that changed everything, because it wasn't about just creating content. It wasn't about just creating a post to put out on Facebook. It was about creating an experience. And that has helped me to build a much more engaging audience. So some of the things that I've learned whilst trying to put this into practice, while trying to think about, okay, it's great knowing that you have to create an experience, but how do you actually do that? So some of the things that have really helped me are getting really clear on the experience that I want people to have. So what is it? What do I want people to feel? And getting really clear on that, because I think that's a kind of goal that we never really think about. How do we want to make people feel? What do we want people to experience when they come to our website, when they do business with us, when they buy something from us? How do we want to make them feel? When someone calls up, when you pick up the phone, how do you want to make them them feel? When you go and meet people, what do you want them to experience when they're with you? And I think that's a hugely important goal to actually set yourself and to think about. So that's the first step. Think about what you want people to experience. And then when you know what experience you want to create for people, you need to start thinking about ways you can start implementing that. So what could you do to create that experience for people? What value could you add to help people to feel that way? What processes could you put in place to make sure that people feel like that? So for example, if you take your sales process, what could you do along every step of the way, from the moment they find out about you to the moment that they buy from you and they actually use your product or service? What could you do along every step of the journey to create an experience for them? And I think that's so important to think about that. So what could you do? How could you add value? How could you make it even more amazing and more incredible for them? And then also, I think it's really important to think about how you look, not you personally necessarily, but how your brand looks. Because I also started to think about brands that I really love, and I started thinking not one of them looks crap. They all look like incredible brands. I think, oh my gosh, that brand is amazing. I absolutely love it. It looks great because, like, let's be honest, how something looks is kind of really linked to how it makes you feel. So it's really important. And sometimes I think, people often say it doesn't need to look perfect, it doesn't need to look amazing, don't waste all your money making something look amazing, focus on getting out there and selling. And obviously I think to an extent that that's true, don't spend forever trying to make something look perfect. However, I think you really have to try and think about how could you make your brand look more amazing so that it feels more amazing for people. So for me, I started to think about what could I do to make my brand look better so that it feels better. So I spent time redoing the website to make it more in line with creating a better experience for it to look good, because when things look good, they feel good. So I think that's really, really important, no matter whether it's something you're posting on Facebook. Make sure that it looks really good, make sure it looks in line with your brand and with your message and the experience that you are trying to create. So for me, these things have had a huge impact on me and my business this year, and that's why I really wanted to share it with you, because I think that it's kind of something that people don't talk about that much. So for the new year, make sure you sit down and you go over all the goals that you would normally go over, like all the stuff like how many new followers you want, how many new fans you want, how many more how many more subscribers you want on your email list, all of that stuff, how much money you want to make, everything, all that stuff, because it's still really important. But also make sure you add a new goal into the mix, and make sure that that goal is, what kind of experience do you want to create for people next year? How do you want to make people feel? What do you want to be able to experience when they come to your website, when they receive an email from you, when they get a call from you, when they buy a product or service from you? What do you want to make them feel? What do you want them to experience? So have a think about that. So I really hope that me sharing this with you has helped in some way. I would absolutely love to know what you think about this too. Have you ever thought about this and tried to create an experience for people? And if so, what really helped you to create that experience? Head over to the blog and leave a comment, because I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure everyone else would love to hear your tips and your experiences too. And I will see you next week for another dose of inspiration.